E3 2021 has come and gone. But how did they do? Were you guys whelmed, overwhelmed, underwhelmed by E3 2021? I'm honestly surprised E3 2021 even happened. This is going to be a full recap of all the announcements from E3 across all the different publishers, with my thoughts on the entire event as a whole. Let's break it all down. Guys, before we start, I need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Some of you guys are still holding out on me and getting to that 20k number, so go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so we can get this thing to 20k by July. Now, E3 2021, it's something I never even thought I would be saying. With E3 disappearing in 2020, I just assumed that it was probably gone forever. I know it did get cancelled because of COVID, but E3 had slowly been disappearing into obscurity, with the likes of Nintendo doing the Nintendo Directs, the likes of Sony going away and doing their State of Play events. E3 has become less relevant as time's gone on. Surprisingly though, they did a completely remote E3 event this year, and it was different than what it's been in the past. They didn't have the same atmosphere with the audience in any of the press conferences. It didn't have the subsequent few days of booths and people being able to go and try games and experience games. It was just a different event. For those of you who are unaware, E3 is basically like the Christmas for gaming. It's essentially the one time a year at this time in June when all of the publishers announce all the new games coming up for the next sort of 12 months to 18 months. Normally it's a few days of conferences, followed by a couple of days of hands-on experience for journalists, media, and YouTubers to go and try out all the new content. This year, it was a completely remote affair, with just conferences being held remotely and published, sort of like Nintendo Directs or Sony's State of Play. Now, as per tradition, Sony wasn't there. They've got their event happening who knows when, at a who knows when time, sometime in the future. And we'll talk more about Sony's strategy in a separate video. But we did have a bunch of announcements from all the other major publishers, which we'll be going through here. Before we do those, what did you guys enjoy about E3? Did you have any particular announcements that you enjoyed? Was there something you were wanting to get announced that didn't get announced? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let's start off, we'll do them in chronological order and we'll talk about them that way. So the first event that happened was Ubisoft. Ubisoft had a bunch of announcements, and some that were a little bit more left field than others. I expected Ubisoft to be mainly focused around the likes of Far Cry. That's what I thought, maybe some Assassin's Creed DLC, but instead they announced a new Avatar game, Frontiers of Pandora, which is something I probably didn't expect. Maybe if my head was a little bit closer to the ground, I would have heard rumors about this. But open world Avatar style game coming out next year at some point. No news on whether Sigourney Weaver is going to be in the game or not, but randomly an Avatar game. I guess this means that James Cameron's Avatar sequels are almost ready to go, with the new Avatar movies coming out in the next couple of years, although they've been supposedly coming out for years and years, so who knows at this point. I don't know. I could take this one or leave it. What did you guys think of Avatar? We also had a new Mario and Rabbids game called Sparks of Hope announced. Mario and Rabbids has been a thing on the Nintendo Switch for a couple of years. It was an okay turn-based strategy game on the Switch, very similar to XCOM, featuring Mario and the Rabbids. The game itself is actually pretty decent. The previous one, at least, I didn't mind it. The Mario side of things is great. The Rabbids side of things just kind of sucks. They're just very annoying and frustrating, and I don't know why they still exist, but they do, so there's that to look forward to as well. We had some DLC for Watch Dogs Legion announced, with a bunch of new expansions for that game, and honestly, I don't think there's any saving it at this point, but who knows. This was followed by a deeper look at Rainbow Six Extraction, which is Rainbow Six Siege's predecessor, essentially, for next-gen consoles. Ubisoft also gave some more information about Riders Republic, which was the game that was supposed to be coming out earlier on in 2021 that got pushed out. This is their sort of extreme sports style game that's coming out later on in the year. They had a bunch of information about Rocksmith, which is this guitar playing game which basically teaches you how to play guitar. It was something that Ubisoft did, I think, at the start of the PS4 generation. It might have even been PS3, I can't remember exactly. Someone in the comments will correct me. And looks like they're bringing it back in some shape or form. Essentially real Guitar Hero. And then of course we had updates on Assassin's Creed Valhalla getting some new content. We had some updates on Far Cry 6. And then in classic Ubisoft fashion, we had a Just Dance thing in there, because there can't be a Ubisoft conference unless you have some Just Dance, because honestly, I think Ubisoft did everything they could. I mean, really, beyond Far Cry, they don't have any massive things coming out, I guess. The Avatar game is their new big thing happening in 2021. Probably that big aha moment. But yeah, no Ghost Recon game, which I was kind of expecting there to be something new from Ghost Recon. No Division. Obviously, no new Assassin's Creed or Watch Dogs games this year. So that's kind of Ubisoft's hand. I don't know. I was kind of underwhelmed. I probably would have liked to have seen that pirate ship game, the ships, flags and sails, or Black Flag. I can't remember what it's called anymore. The pirate ship game that was announced a few years ago and then kept getting delayed. It would have been nice to have seen what happened to that game, but I guess it's probably gone back to the drawing board at this point. Otherwise, I think it was called Skull and Bones, actually. I think it was called Skull and Bones. Otherwise, yeah, that's Ubisoft's conference in a nutshell. Yeah, it's okay. What did you guys think of Ubisoft? Let me know. I was pretty underwhelmed, I would say, by it, though. Next up, we had Squaresoft, Square Enix, for those who aren't aware. A few surprising things in here. Guardians of the Galaxy got announced, which actually looks pretty good. A third-person action-adventure game based on the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. You play as Star-Lord. So they're taking this really simple concept, just a simple third-person action-adventure game set in that Marvel universe. I think it's probably what Avengers should have been. Avengers was just too complicated. They tried to do too many things. I've got a lot to say about Avengers. I'll talk about that maybe in another video as well. But Guardians of the Galaxy looks very straightforward and simple. It's a shame you couldn't play as all the Guardians, but I do understand why they've kept it really straightforward, just playing as Star-Lord. Only having to worry about one character style, one character gameplay style. It's a smart way of doing it, and I think it's probably the right way to have tackled this, especially if they're trying to make a universe out of these superhero characters. So very excited for this, actually. This gameplay trailer got me really pumped and excited for this game. There was like a Final Fantasy Dark Souls style game called Stranger of Paradise. Very strange. This is kind of like Dark Souls meets Final Fantasy, which I'm totally into. I love both Final Fantasy and Dark Souls, so totally on board with this. Didn't know it was coming at all, and very, very pumped. Obviously no date or information or anything about this yet, though. We bought a bunch of information about Final Fantasy games getting remastered, which I feel like we get that every year, so that wasn't too exciting. I mean, I'm sure that there's some people who are jonesing for a specific game, but I feel like this gets announced pretty much every time Square goes out to talk about Final Fantasy. Legend of Mana got some announcements about being remade. Yeah, I guess find out more about that when it finally launches. But the game comes out in like a few weeks time anyway, so it's not that big of a deal at this point. And then we got a trailer for Black Panther in Marvel Avengers, which, yeah, I don't know. Marvel Avengers has just so many problems with it. I don't think Black Panther's going to save it at this point, but who knows? Like, they did improve a lot of the stuff with the game, so I shouldn't be so critical about it. They announced a bunch of mobile stuff as well. Hitman Sniper, which I think is based on that Hitman Sniper game that came out a few years ago on PS3, a mobile game. Nier Reincarnation, which is another mobile game. Then weirdly, the Final Fantasy Battle Royale game got more information and a new trailer for it. I knew this was coming because I remember hearing about it a few years back, but I did never expect it to actually come to fruition. It's like Square's jumped onto the Battle Royale genre of games way later and way past the point where it's acceptable to do so. Platinum Games revealed their new game called Babylon's Fall. This was also revealed a while back, but really cool to see Platinum working on sort of a more mature third-person action game like this. They'd been kind of doing a lot of Bayonetta and licensed games for a couple of years now, so really nice to see them digging their teeth into something like this, Babylon's Fall, which actually looks pretty decent. It'd be nice to see a release date for it, but this is all we've got for now. And then we just got a bunch of stuff about Life is Strange. Life is Strange collection coming to PS5, as well as a bunch of trailers for the new Life is Strange True Colors game. So that's basically Square's conference. Look, I think it's a bit better than Ubisoft's conference, but I'm a bit of a sucker for those JRPGs, the Final Fantasy games. Babylon's Fall looks cool. The Final Fantasy meets Dark Souls game looks really cool as well. The Battle Royale looks like a joke. Square did pretty good, I think, for me. I don't know what more I could have wanted from Square. You know, honestly, at this point, I don't think they would have had much more to give me, so pretty impressed with the entire lineup here from these guys. Again, I'm not massively overwhelmed and excited with everything. It's fine. It's just fine. Okay, Xbox. This is the controversial one. Should I turn on the Xbox? I'll turn on the Xbox light. The box is on. I don't know about this one. Look, I was really excited for Xbox's conference. I thought this is their opportunity now to finally show us what we've been waiting for. Why did people buy a Series X console? Let's see these new games, because up until this point, we haven't really had any Series X exclusive games. All of them have been cross-platform, cross-play, yada yada, which it seems like Xbox's thing. And I think, honestly, Xbox really disappointed here. I think they didn't step up to the plate. They had the stage to themselves, you know, with the new Bethesda acquisition. This was a Bethesda Xbox conference, by the way. And I think they just really dropped the ball here, and they really let me down as well as a fan of all platforms. They honestly, they dropped the ball big time. They opened the show with a trailer for Starfield, which is coming out in 2022, and they gave it a date in 2022 as well. Starfield, for those of you who are unaware, is basically like, it's a game Bethesda were developing before Xbox came and purchased them. This was the game that it's basically their Fallout / Skyrim in space. It's their sci-fi version of those games. And it looks pretty cool for a teaser, but it's still only a teaser. The game is still over a year away at this point. Super weird dating it and giving it this date. The thing to note here as well is it looks like it's only coming out on PC and Xbox consoles at this point. No information about PlayStation, Sony consoles. So who knows what Xbox are doing with this one. I don't even know if it's a Hail Mary of a game to really hold back as an exclusive. I think it probably would do better on multiple platforms. I'm not really fussed. I have multiple platforms anyway, but I know not everyone does. Starfield, yeah, I was never really excited about this one, but I know people were. Halo Infinite got a big showing here, and they really needed to. This was a game that was supposed to come out last November, and it got delayed. And it got delayed indefinitely last November, and it was finally the first time they've actually shown gameplay of it looking pretty decent. I'm a pretty big Halo fan, so I'm excited by this. The gameplay was fine. I just kind of want to play the game at this point, especially after being told I was going to be playing it last year and still not having it. The gameplay did look significantly better than last year's, but we still don't have a date. They just said this year at some point. I think that's pretty disappointing. I think they really needed to come out and give this game a date and just let us know we have something new and exclusive to play. Forza Horizon 5 got announced, set in Mexico. The game looks great as expected, but I mean, Forza always looks great. Forza Horizon always looks great. This is sort of the arcadey version of Forza compared to the Motorsport series, which is more sim racing. These games are always awesome. They have like this Burnout style and Need for Speed style DNA in them, and they just play great, they feel great, they're really fun, and they are genuinely quite arcadey. Nice to know that we're getting this at least this year, which is somewhat of an exclusive for Xbox, but it's a little late. This one should have been there at launch last year, I think, and it's just really disappointing that it wasn't. We got an Age of Empires trailer for PC, which is kind of unusual during an Xbox conference. Kind of jarring for me, being a console gamer. I don't play a lot of PC games. Sort of a weird one. We got this pretty long trailer about this game called Redfall. This is a brand new one from Microsoft as well. Bethesda. Looks like some sort of vampire monster hunting style co-op game. Looks to be one of those 4-player co-op monster hunting experiences. Kind of something we've seen a lot of in the past. I guess publishers and developers are doubling down on this like 4-player co-op squad-based gameplay, probably because it has a lot of replayability in it, but we won't be seeing this one for a couple of years. I think it's 2022 was the date on this one. The Outer Worlds 2 got a new announcement trailer for a sequel to that game. Basically, it's essentially a sci-fi version of Fallout, developed by the guys who made Fallout New Vegas. Cool to know that this game is coming, but I think this will be definitely an Xbox exclusive at this point. Which is fine. I didn't really enjoy the Outer Worlds, to be fair, but I know a lot of people did out there, especially because they wanted that sort of Fallout fix, and it kind of gave them that when Bethesda did it. Simulator is coming to consoles as well. Will come into Xbox at least. Not a bad trailer for this one. Again, it's something that's been out on PC for a wee while, so probably not a massive announcement. Stalker 2 got a bunch of new gameplay as well. This was a game that was revealed last E3, I believe. It was kind of one of those like ones that had, I think it was the one that had the Opera version of DMX playing behind it, but this game's coming out in April 2022. The game looks massively impressive, but it would be good to see a little bit more of it. When you only have a very small slice, it's hard to kind of get a proper vibe of the game, but if what we saw is the full game, I think it's going to be a really graphically intensive and impressive game on the Xbox. We got a trailer for Back 4 Blood, but we already knew about Back 4 Blood, so we're going to miss that one. We got a trailer for this new game called Contraband, made by the guys who made Just Cause. It's a co-op open world action adventure game, which I think sounds really, really cool. Obviously, this is just a tease at this point, but that to me sounds very appealing. Just Cause was a really fun open world sandboxy style game, and having a co-op sandbox to play around in, I think, is a really neat concept. These ones are a little bit shorter, so we'll just skip through these quickly, but Sea of Thieves got DLC content revealed. Yakuza Like a Dragon is coming to Game Pass, which is cool, I guess, but game's been out for a while. Battlefield got a gameplay trailer, Battlefield 2042, but we've already seen a bunch of Battlefield at this point as well. And then Psychonauts 2, which I guess a lot of you guys are probably excited about. I don't really care too much about Psychonauts. They never really did too much for me. Okay, then Bethesda's kind of side of the conference took over. They talked a little about Doom Eternal getting a next-gen update, how they're still continuing to support Fallout 76, which I was actually surprised about. I didn't realize that game was still getting support with new expansions continuing to roll out for it. I guess we'll see what happens for that in terms of next-gen updates, and if that kind of re-release of it gets people engaged again. I'd probably be quite keen to check it out again and give it another chance if they have improved enough of it over the last couple of years. A trailer for Hades coming to Xbox finally got revealed as well, which is cool. I know a lot of people have been excited for Hades after it came out on the Switch and the PC. Really cool to see it coming to Xbox in August. Diablo 2 Remake has finally been dated as well, which I think is awesome. I'm really excited for this one. I really liked Diablo 2 when it came out way back when on the PC, so very excited to finally get a chance to play this. This will be on everything. It was on the Xbox conference, but it will come out on PlayStation as well, I imagine. I don't see why it would. And this game comes out on September 23rd, which is actually not that far away, which is always nice as well. A Plague Tale Requiem got revealed, coming to Xbox and PC. This is a sequel to a Plague Tale, which came out a couple of years ago on everything. This one doesn't appear to be coming to PlayStation consoles, but A Plague Tale was really good, so that's also kind of an exciting one. Very cool stealth action game. Shredders, this new snowboarding game, got revealed. Kind of cool to see more of these extreme sport snowboarding type titles coming out, because these aren't something we've seen traditionally very much over the last couple of years. They've kind of been something that studios have pushed away from since the PS1 extreme sports era. I guess it has kind of in lifestyle as well, but nice to see these kind of coming back a little bit. We got this trailer for a game called Atomic Heart. I have no idea what this actually is, and I can't show gameplay here because I don't want to get struck, but yeah, Atomic Heart coming out at some point. I have no idea what this game actually is though. They had a trailer for Among Us coming to Xbox. We already knew it was coming because it was revealed in PlayStation's event a while back. And there was a trailer for a game called The Ascent coming to Game Pass at some point as well. Who knows what the story behind that is. And then weirdly, they had this thing revealing that there is an Xbox mini fridge coming out, which I thought was a joke that they talked about a while back, but I guess it's not as much of a joke as I thought it was. So yeah, overall, Xbox had a bunch of stuff jammed in there between Bethesda and Microsoft. I just don't think it hit right. You know, I think there was a bunch of announcements that we've just talked about. And don't get me wrong, we talked about a lot of stuff. I know I've rambled off a lot of new features, but I don't know if any of them are of like massive consequence. I don't know if they have any heavy hitters or real heavy hitters. I mean, The Outer Worlds is a big game, I guess. So is Starfield, so is Halo. These are big games, but they're not massive style games, like the kind of stuff we would expect. You know, they're not a Horizon Zero Dawn or a God of War, which I think is really what Microsoft needed to come out with. They needed those big AAA IPs that are coming out now, that are coming out this year, in the next 6 months, 12 months, to convince us that this console is worth buying, because currently, just for Game Pass. Last gen games on Game Pass. That's all it is for me at this point. And I think it's the same for a lot of people. So I don't know, Microsoft, I think you got to step up your game a little bit. I think there's a lot more you could have done. Halo needed a date, and I think it's a big deal that it didn't get one. It means that they're not confident when that game's coming out, and I think that's a problem. So yeah, Microsoft, it's a thumbs down from me on this one. Weirdly, Capcom got a conference, and they don't normally do a conference. They only announced 4 tiny little things. The first is that Resident Evil Reverse will be launching next month. That's the online multiplayer Resident Evil game they've been teasing for a while, coming out really soon. Kind of exciting if you're an RE fan. I am, yeah, and it looks good, I guess. They also talked about how Resident Evil a Village is getting DLC content. I guess the game was a lot more popular than they were expecting, and they weren't planning on working on DLC, but now they are. It seems like they've just started planning the DLC rollout, but they're not working on it yet. So it's going to be quite a wee way off. I would say 6 to 9 months, maybe even a year before you start seeing DLC for this game, but at least they're thinking about it, I guess. Weird that they didn't beforehand, but hey, I guess they just wanted to get the game out. Monster Hunter 2 Stories had another trailer. Not too much to say on that one. And then they showed like a roadmap for Monster Hunter Rise and all the additional content they're going to be adding to that. I'm a Monster Hunter fan, so that's kind of cool, but I know it's not for everybody. And then they talked about Ace Attorney. Ace Attorney Chronicles coming to PS4 and Switch, which is cool, I guess. And that was everything from Capcom. I guess they didn't disappoint, or did they? I don't know really what to expect from a Capcom conference. I knew they weren't going to announce a new Resident Evil game. I guess I'm still waiting on Dragon's Dogma from these guys. Who knows when that's coming out. And then Devil May Cry was only revealed or announced and released a couple of years ago. Probably aren't onto that one yet, especially given Dragon's Dogma is made by the same team. The only other thing I'd want from them is a new Monster Hunter World game, but I mean, I'm sure that's in development and coming at some point soon. But apart from that, that's all from Capcom. I guess it was a fine conference. At least it was nice and short. They didn't waste too much time. Did they need a conference for all of that? I don't know. Who knows? I mean, Sony didn't have one, so normally I think that would slot into Sony's or Microsoft's, and I guess these two things, or the things they announced, didn't really make sense in any of those conferences. Okay, on to Nintendo. This is the mecca. I'm going to try and skim through these pretty quickly because there's actually a lot of stuff that Nintendo announced. I personally think Nintendo is actually the highlight of the entire E3 conference or the E3 show. Let's go with Nintendo. Okay, first of all, we had, so the big ones are Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. We saw our first gameplay for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. Kind of a big deal because this is arguably going to be one of the biggest Nintendo Switch games that they've ever released. Arguably one of the biggest games that's coming out. Who knows if it's going to topple Animal Crossing or Pokemon or those games, but it does look really good. If you enjoy Breath of the Wild, I'm sure this is going to be a great one as well. We got a new Mario Party Superstars, which is weird because we did have a Mario Party game on the Nintendo Switch. So I guess they just thought it's not good enough. Let's release another one. This one here has full online play, which the other one didn't have at launch, I believe, and it got it later, I think. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, that's coming. Mario Party's not really my jam, but Metroid Dread is absolutely my jam. This is a new Metroid game, 2D Metroid game in the Metroidvania style, not Metroid Prime style, coming to the Nintendo Switch this year, coming out in October. And I think that's really important to note because a lot of these Nintendo games are all coming out almost immediately, like from now through to the end of the year, which is a big deal because not a lot of the other publishers announce games coming out this year. This is awesome. I'm so excited for a 2D Metroid game coming to the Switch. This is a big deal for me as a Castlevania and Metroid fan, or old school Metroid fan. I'm very, very excited for it. They didn't give it a number, which I think is interesting, so it's not technically like a Metroid 4 or 5, but still really exciting, this one. WarioWare Get It Together is also coming out this year. This is like, WarioWare is a bunch of mini games. It's been a staple of Nintendo on their handheld consoles, and I think their home consoles as well, for a number of years now. I really enjoy those games as well. This one's coming out on September 10th, so not even that far away, which is super exciting too. This is just fun, mindless mini games, and it's always a blast to play it. And it would have been nice to have seen this earlier in the Switch's life cycle, but nice that it's coming out pretty soon as well. Kazuya is coming to the Smash Bros. Scene. I know a lot of people are excited about these like final 2 Smash characters to get revealed. I don't know if we necessarily expected a Tekken character to be coming to Smash. Thought it might have been Crash Bandicoot, perhaps, but it wasn't. I've seen people like mixed on this one. I have no opinion on it because I don't really play Smash, but people have been happy and people have been really unhappy, so there's that as well. The Advanced Wars games are getting remastered for the Nintendo Switch. These are Advanced Wars are these turn-based strategy games, I would say, that came out on the GBA and I think the DS as well a long time ago. These are pretty old games. Nice to see them getting the remaster treatment on the Switch and brought into the new ecosystem though. They also revealed Life is Strange. The story narrative games by Square are coming to the Switch too, which is cool for those people who haven't played them, maybe if they don't have another home console. So pretty neat to see that happening. Probably not something for me or you guys though. And then to celebrate the 25th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda, they're releasing a Zelda themed Game & Watch, which is the little handheld that predated or predated, I think, the Game Boy, or the original Game Boy. Cool that they did this. They did something similar last year for Mario's anniversary, so nice to see them do a similar thing for the Switch. The Guardians of the Galaxy game is also coming to Switch. We talked about that earlier though. Worms Rumble is coming to Switch. That was free on PlayStation Plus a few months back. Astra Ascending is coming to Switch on the 30th of September. This was announced for PlayStation 4, I think last year at some point, so that's interesting too. 2 Point Campus is coming to the Switch as well. 2 Point, I guess they did like 2 Point Hospital and things like that. These are kind of like sim-based games coming out at some point next year. It's like not The Sims, but like the Sim City style, or is it The Sims? I have no idea what these are. Let's just move on. Super Monkey Ball is coming out with a 20th anniversary game called Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. It's coming out on everything, but it was included in this conference because I guess it kind of is synonymous with Nintendo. Coming out on October 5th. So if you're after some more Super Monkey Ball action, you can do that. Just Dance obviously coming to Switch as well, and then Dragon Ball Kakarot is now being ported to Nintendo Switch. So for all the Dragon Ball fans out there, it's kind of exciting. Monster Hunter Stories 2 had another trailer. This game has had so many trailers at this point. I just want to play it. It's coming out in like a month's time, so it's not that far away. I don't know why they needed to include this here, but they did. Monster Hunter Stories 2. They showed off Mario Golf, which comes out in like a couple of weeks time, so I don't really know why they bothered with that. Danganronpa is coming to the Switch too, which was actually like a Vita game. Well, they were on the PlayStation Vita and then the PlayStation 4. They all got ported too, so cool to see this coming to Switch. I think it will work well on the Switch as it did on the Vita, but they are pretty old games at this point. I think 1, 2, and 3 are all coming to the Switch later on this year. Fatal Frame, Maiden of the Blackwater, which is the Wii U Fatal Frame game. They're like a horror series of games from way back when. They kind of came out around similar time to Silent Hill. This one came out in the Wii U like way after the rest of the franchise, and it was okay. It wasn't amazing, but that's now coming to Switch as well. I'll probably play this. I didn't mind it on the Wii U, to be honest. I didn't finish it because the Wii U was kind of terrible, but I didn't mind it. Tony Hawk Pro Skater is coming to the Switch, as well as Strange Brigade, another couple of games being ported across from other consoles. And then we saw a bunch of DLC for Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. So much content in this Nintendo conference. I know I've skimmed over it really quickly because I've just tried to condense it down because I know this video is going to be too long. Okay, that's Nintendo's side of things. Honestly, I think this is not bad. Having the trailer for Breath of the Wild 2, I think, was a big deal. It got a lot of Nintendo fans pumped. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be cool. I would have rather they had a date on it though. And it's not coming out this year. And given it's not coming out in 2021, I think it's a bit of a cheeky, let's just get the hype build up for Nintendo fans. And it did, because that's what the entire internet's talking about. It looks great though, don't get me wrong, it does look good. It's just coming out in 2022, it's a bit of a cop out. I prefer games to be revealed and then released within that sort of 6 to 12 month window rather than having a random date at some point in the future. I think that's, but the Metroid stuff I think is really cool. Likewise with the WarioWare stuff, the Smash announcements I think are cool for some people, and then the Game & Watch Legend of Zelda console I think is really neat for a lot of people. The coolest part here though I think is just all of the ports coming to Switch and how viable of a console and ecosystem the Switch is going to become. I feel like we should turn the Xbox light off. And how viable of a console that is going to become for a lot of people as their primary console now that it has pretty much all of the multi-platform games and ports coming to it or on it. So it becomes a really reasonable machine as your handheld and main gaming console. I think the one thing here that wasn't revealed, which a lot of people thought was going to be like a Switch 2 or a Switch Pro or something like that, which was a shame that wasn't revealed. I think that would have been like the icing on the cake if they had a next-gen console coming out. But I think the Switch still has a lot of life in it. I still use mine all the time. I don't know if you guys do as well. What did you think of the Nintendo conference though? Do you agree with what I've said or disagree? Looking at all of these on a whole and spending the last hour just talking to a camera about all of these different things, I still do think the Switch had the best conference, or Nintendo had the best conference in my opinion. I think followed maybe by Square. Those are probably the two that I thought were the best. However, as a whole, E3 2021 I think was a bit of a disappointment. I don't think they really brought the thunder like they normally do. I don't think anyone had any of those knockout announcements. I don't think anyone had anything that's gonna like take your breath away, that you're so excited to play. I just don't think anyone had anything like that. I think that's probably what the most disappointing part of this is. I would have loved to have seen something, just something massive. But I don't feel like that was really here. Maybe the Guardians of the Galaxy game is that game, maybe it's Battlefield, but we see those games or those kind of games pretty frequently anyway. And I think after Avengers, Square has they got a lot of convincing to do before people are going to get on board with their Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. So E3 2021 is probably a bit of a for me, in my personal opinion. I don't think it was as good as previous E3s. I mean, obviously it was better than last year's because it didn't exist, but 2019, 2018, 2017, I think were just superior conferences. So that's my 2 cents on it all. Who knows what happens to E3 in 2022, whether or not it continues, whether or not we see another E3, or whether or not that's it for E3. It's yet to be determined. Personally, I think if it's going to be more like this, I don't know. I'm a bit of a fence sitter. I don't know if it's necessary to continue that or not, but I'd be curious to get everyone's thoughts, what you think about E3 2021. Did you enjoy the conference? Did you enjoy any of the content announced? Were you pumped about any of these announcements? Let me know in the comment section down below about what you're excited about. And do you think E3 really had it this year? Do you think they really bought it this year, or do you think it was kind of a bit of a whimper? Curious to get everyone's thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, as always, leave a like, and don't forget to subscribe if you're not already subscribed. We're working towards 20,000 subscribers at the moment, and every single one of you counts. Thank you so much for watching, folks. I'll see you in the next one. Patrons, thank you so very much for each and every one of your generosity this month. You'll be seeing your names coming up here on the right hand side if you're a Patreon or a channel member on the YouTube channel this month. If you want to support me, if you do decide you want to support me further and help keep this channel's lights on, link in the description down below to become a Patreon, or you can click on the join button down below next to the subscribe button to become a channel member. Thanks, you guys, you're all legends.